So, welcome back, friends. With us is the CA Pulkit, who is a chartered accountant and also working in the business finance and FP&A role. He had experience in business finance as well. So, welcome, Pulkit. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi Yogesh, thank you.
So, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
So, I am also doing good, and we have started this initiative of Boost My Career where we want the youth to get inspired from different industry professionals and they also get the knowledge of different profiles so that before entering into the role, they have a thorough understanding of what the responsibilities are.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
being from the finance side, I would like to invite you to have or give us some background about when you qualified CA and when you started your first job. What was the role? If you can tell us in detail about the role where you have worked in, what were the job responsibilities, that will provide a great idea,
Okay,
a good idea to our audience.
okay. So yeah, I'll basically start with I completed my chartered accountancy in 2019
Hmm.
and I did my articleship, which probably everyone knows of, for my entire 3 years into statutory and tax audits. So, one thing I realized at that time only was that the traditional fields of finance was not for me. Never enjoyed working towards auditing a company or working on the tax side. So I always knew I wanted to try something different. So after like a brief stint at Deloitte for a couple of months, I shifted to an FP&A profile. At that time, even I wasn't clear what this exactly is. The job description sounded interesting, and like you know, right, at that time we are not very clear as to where we
Hmm.
should go or what is that we exactly do in that profile. So actually, a lot of people now that I'm working this profile, a lot of people reach out to me in terms of my juniors, in terms of my seniors, in terms of colleagues working here and there as to what FP&A profile actually is, what are its job responsibilities. Okay, and while I'm talking, you'll realize I'm using FP&A and business finance interchangeably, which I'll explain in some time why so. But yeah, so if I had to explain the job responsibilities of this profile, I could basically segment it into three parts. Okay, so the first part is planning, right? I think it's in the name, right? Financial planning. So in planning, what planning basically is, where do we want to be, right? So if we are doing a 100 rupee revenue at a 10% profit, then planning is where do we want to be in the next month, where do we want to be in the next year, where do we want to be in the coming 5 years. So that in its very simplistic way is planning. Second is reporting. Now, reporting is for two segments of stakeholders. One would be our internal stakeholders. This would be the business leaders, the CFOs, the top management, to whom you'll explain that, see, this is what we planned for. These are the actuals that we have seen. Now, you will also explain that why did we miss the plan, or are we inside that plan? And if we missed it, what was the reason for it? Was there a one-off? Was there something that we can work on and solve it perfectly? And the third would be partnering. So in partnering, there are two aspects, right? Initially, what you would do is, after the reporting stage, you'll go to the business, you'll say, see, this is how we missed the plan. This is what we need to work on, and you'll create a newer plan, or you'll create a way to, weed out
Strategy.
the deviations. Yeah. And as and when this profile matures in any company, there'll be a time where you'll be proactively working with the business, that you'll plan ahead ki, okay, in the next month, this is what this cost should be. And every single day you are working with the business. You are working out on the negotiations, you are working out in terms of which city to operate in. So this would be in general the responsibilities. If I had to give an example, so all this is theoretical, but for an example, suppose manpower cost, right? That is a cost for every business. So how would you plan for it? So manpower cost basically has two drivers. One is the number of people you have and the average salary that you pay to them. So suppose we say that in a city, if we need to manufacture, suppose 100 products, and there's a productivity of 5% productivity. So that would entail that we'll need 20 people at maybe a salary of 10 rupees each. So that will be a total cost of 200 rupees. Now, while you were actually working, you realize that the cost overshot to 250 rupees. Now you'll sit with the business, you'll figure out ki, did the number of people that we hired What did that increase, or did the average salary increase? Now, suppose the average salary increased, then we'll figure out that what was the reason for it. Was there a general trend in inflation? Do we have to change our plans? If the number of manpower increase, then we'll have to, restructure our business in such a way that the excess manpower can be used in some other department. It can be used in expanding to a new city. So that is how the manpower is a simple example, but that is how this entire reporting or this entire role works in.
To summarize what you have said and what you have, talked about in the FP&A role, what I understood as that one segment is understanding the business, and another segment is having proper Excel sheets and having a control over the data, and then relating both of
Yeah,
them so that we can control or we can achieve the targets what we have set.
yeah,
And if we are not meeting the targets, then we are finding the exact reason and we are correcting that so
yeah.
that in future we can meet our targets and to be on the
Yes, yes,
achievement of our
yes,
goals.
yes, yes. So, normally FPN and business finance are like it is used interchangeably in a lot of places. And to
Mhm.
be honest, in a smaller setup, you will find that the teams are same who are doing both the work. Now, if I move to a larger setup, the difference between these two teams comes in. Suppose if the processes are really big, really complex. For example, it's a manufacturing company which has procurement, sales, manufacturing. So there'll be different business finance teams who will be working with everyday business,
Mhm.
like everyday activities tracking, sitting with the business every day and figuring out, okay, so this is what is happening today, this is what we're doing tomorrow. And there'll be a central FP&A team which would look at the company as a whole,
Mhm.
not any specific function, but the company as a whole. But yeah, in smaller setups, you'll find that these two teams are the same or they are being used interchangeably.
Right. So, Pulkit, can you tell us about what are the skill set required to enter into this profile and what are the qualifications which are required to enter into this particular field?
So the funny thing is that qualifications I've actually seen everyone work in this profile, be it a chartered accountant, an MBA, a graduate, or an engineer. So it is very surprising because you don't need technical expertise in this sort of a profile. You need an analytical mind. You need good communication. You need to be really quick on your feet. You need to be know how to manage your stakeholders. You need a lot of ownership. So in that sense, although there is no technical expertise required, but you need a lot of skill set because this is a very challenging role that is.
Right. So, qualification wise,
So
you have told us like CA, CS,
yeah, yeah.
a company secretary, I guess they would not be there in.
I haven't seen as such, but I still do. I don't see any reason why even they
Okay.
cannot
So, anyone can
serve.
come, whether they are graduates, BTech, BCom, CA,
Yeah, I
CS,
have seen
CMA.
actually people, everyone work in this
Mhm.
profile in a
Okay,
lot
so
of ways.
qualification is not a barrier to enter into this field. What are the skills which are required? Like few of the things which I can understand from your whatever you have shared till now is one is communication skills, one is analytical mindset, and then definitely you will be working in Excel. So Excel knowledge is also required. So can you
Yeah.
summarize like list of four, five, or top skills which a person needs in order to work
Okay.
effectively in this field?
Okay. So, from a soft skill side, I would say one, ownership is really important over
Mm-hmm.
here in this profile. Second is having that analytical mind. Third is, I would say, learning how to deep dive. So if you realize, okay, so continuing our example, so the number of manpower increased. In which city did it increase? Why did it increase? Who had given that approval? Was there some business sense to it? Did we achieve some kind of benefit from that? So that deep diving, communication again is very important. How you build your story, how you interact is important. For example, if one way to present your losses is just or your profits are that our profits missed by around 2%. But how an FP&A professional, business fin professional would communicate that is key. So the 2% decline that we saw was due to these four reasons: 40 basis points impact due to lower gross margins, 30 basis points impact due to higher manpower cost, offset by some goodness that we saw in our overall capex spends, whatever. So that is the important part, how you build that story, how you communicate it in a very crisp manner, and how you are able to correct that in the long run.
Right. In talking about the skill set, so few you mentioned. Anything else you would like
Yeah.
to add?
Yeah, so from a technical point, I would say that of course Excel is important because you'll be working with a lot of numbers. You'll be and because at the end you are analyzing with the numbers, right? But something like having some skills on terms of Power BIs or Tableau dashboards, or
Mhm.
and because these are tools that help you in your in analyzing vast amounts of data, right? So some bit of knowledge here would actually be helpful in the long run. And of course, having a good sense of financial numbers and what are the drivers behind each and every
Mhm.
cost, that is again very, very helpful,
And how
important.
about the knowledge of the financial modeling? Do you do financial modeling or projections as well?
Financial modeling, of course, is important. Budgeting in terms of, so if you talk about specific skills in Excel, like goal seeking or sum ifs, or these are obviously there. But so what is financial modeling basically, right? If I had to explain it in a very simple words. So currently we are doing a sales of suppose 200 items, right? And we have a sales force of 40 people who are doing that in two cities. So now if you want to expand it to four cities, what is the minimum number of people that we would need? We see that in any new city in the initial days, there's a productivity of 10 products per person. So if we want to target, suppose 20 products being sold in that city, we'll hire two people. What is the average size? So financial modeling is basically understanding the drivers behind every single
Mhm.
line item of cost or revenue, and trying to understand what influences that, how you can change that, or how you can work upon it.
All right. And two of the skills you mentioned, Power BI, and another one was
Tableau. So these are tools,
Tableau.
again, yeah,
So,
that
so do you
helps in
had the knowledge?
analyzing
Do you
data.
had the knowledge prior to entering this field, or how you acquired this knowledge?
No, actually, I did not. But once I was in that field, and this is how normally companies look at vast amounts of data, right? So these are tools. Excel will help you in a lot of ways, but these are like I'm talking about millions of rows of Excel sheets where even when Excel will give up, these are the kind of tools that help you. And I think in this world where YouTube almost has everything, so
Mhm.
there there is no hindrance. It just would take, I don't know, some dedicated 4 5 hours to get a good basic knowledge of SQL queries or whatever. Yeah.
The three things were Power BI, SQL, and Tableau. These three things you can learn, have a basic knowledge in order to work in the
Yeah,
business
yeah,
finance and
yeah.
FP&A role. Now, Pulkit, coming on to the hierarchy part in any organization, the people who are working in business finance and FP&A role, what hierarchy do you see? Take it, for example, of any company which you had worked in the past, you are currently working, or maybe your friends are working in this profile and you have the knowledge of. What is the hierarchy structure from where a person starts and at what level a person can go, and what is that hierarchy?
So I would say that in the start, maybe for a year or two, you might be working more towards the reporting side, where
Mm.
you'll be understanding the business, how the costs are coming in, how each and every factor, the drivers I was talking about,
Can
how
you,
those drivers
Pulkit,
are impacting.
just to add
Yeah.
one more thing, can you add the designation, like for example, an analyst, senior analyst, or whatever you call it, and you can just also map the responsibilities of that particular person at each stage, so that we get a clear-cut idea of how the person will be moving in terms of the responsibilities and
So
designation.
I think designation is something that honestly depends on company to company, and that is more of a formal name given to whatever you're
Right.
working
But
on.
you
So
name it for a purpose of understanding. You can name it for any organization. We don't care. Just for the purpose of understanding that how the responsibilities increase at each stage, and you can name it any fictitious name or anything, whatever you have heard or whatever is the
um
industry practice.
Actually, that's what it actually depends a lot on the company. So maybe you'll start somewhere as an analyst, you'll start
Okay.
somewhere as a manager, but
Mm.
uh, that doesn't mean that the work you'll get will be different, right? So
All right.
that is more dependent on company, but the work initially would be more towards on the reporting side, trying to
All right.
understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Then as you move ahead, what I've seen actually is, be it a manager, director, or a vice president, everyone in this business finance or an FP&A profile owns the PNL as if it is his own, if
Mm-hmm.
that is his own business. So initially, while you'll be working on the reporting side and understanding business from its nth sense, as you move ahead, maybe in a couple of years or maybe in a year, or depending on how you're performing, because see, this role is challenging, but the factor that impacts the most is the value you can create in the business. What is the impact that you are making? Initially it will take a couple of years to get the basics right. Then you'll start figuring out points on your own. You will start creating that value, and then the sky's the limit, because it does not matter the number of years you have. The number, for each and every person in this profile works as if it's his own business. He has the liberty to go and implement changes in that business, and if that is bringing any sense of goodness, or any sense of expansion, goodness, or profitability, then sky's the limit. It wouldn't be, yeah.
But how the responsibilities differ at each stage? Like you told that people take the ownership of the P&L, that's a great thing. But how it differs from an analyst or from a director, how the responsibilities changes?
Yeah. So I would say, as an analyst, we are working more towards understanding the business, reporting it, creating data sets, data structures by what we are told to do, right? But as you grow, as you move ahead, when you start understanding why these data sets were required, what was made, that will be what will be expected from you. So maybe after like 4 5 years in this field, right,
Mhm,
you will
mhm.
be expected to bring some sort of goodness to the business. You will be expected to bring that control on the business, which of course won't be expected from the first day. But yeah, something peculiar about this profile is that everyone, be it someone who has just started or someone who's young in 15 years, would be working together as if it is his own business. They will be working on reporting, report करते करते they'll just say कि नहीं, I just realized कि ये करने से there's a better वो.
Mhm.
Then someone would just sit in the room and say, अच्छा हाँ, good idea, why don't we solve it this way? Then someone would say कि अच्छा, execute करने के लिए ये better है. So that is how this profile is. It's not restricted कि
Right.
as an analyst you'll be doing this, as a manager you'll be doing that. Of course,
Mhm.
with years of experience, you'll be handling teams, you'll be handling multitudes of functions rather than just working on, suppose, if procurement, you'll be looking at the entire P&L. But yeah, I think it's a profile irrespective, not
Got a
worrying too
fair
much
idea.
about.
Got a fair idea about it. Now, my last few questions which are coming into is if a person is working in FP&A role or business finance segment, then
Yeah.
after working for a couple of years, what are the profiles where that person can switch in case that person wants
Okay.
to
Yeah.
work in a different role?
That's a very good question, because of course, right, once we venture into it, we would want to know what are the kind of options that we have. So I would say that one thing which is again very peculiar, someone who is a CA maybe, or I can relate to this personally. If I want to work on the business side, right? If I want to head the sales or the marketing division next year, so I've seen a lot of business finance people or FP&A people who have moved into the core business, which is very difficult to do. Suppose if you are in a product team or a tech team and moving on, this will be slightly difficult. But I've seen a lot of business finance professionals move into the business teams. Then, apart from this, there are also roles like investor relations, mergers, because once you understand financial modeling, you understand how P&L works, how strategies work. Then you can go into strategic finance. You can also go into due diligence side of the business, and yeah,
Great. And
lot
my
of opportunities are there.
exactly
Yeah.
got a fair idea. Got a fair idea. And my last question is about the pay package. I know that it is something confidential, but we are not asking about your package, but we are asking about a range from where a person can start generally and up to what level it can go if a person has a good amount of experience of 10 years or 15 years. So what would be that range as per your understanding?
I think the profile is such that, first I'll answer the second part, that if in the 10 15 years you are able to bring that sort of an impact where you are saving a company millions of dollars, at that time there is no range. There is just what value you are creating, and people actually will be paying you for that, which I really believe in. As when you start, I would say getting anywhere near what the industry standard or whatever is, it's fine, as long as the learning that you are getting in those initial years is important, because they truly feel with learning you'll get all sorts of compensation or goals that you have. For a figure in mind, I'm really not sure what
Any range of
is
where a
there.
person can start in this particular field, considering a person is a graduate or considering a person is a professional, whether a BTech, CSE, CMA, or MBA from top college, and a person who is a graduate. So, what would be the pay package where the person starts his or her journey? You can give a range because in industry and in different companies it differs.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm actually really not sure about this because it varies significantly, right? It can be something 5x of some other company's payroll, right? But matlab, again, the directional factor is that no matter what you start with, if that is something that is
Mhm.
in the industry average and you are sure you are about to learn a lot, then like I said, 10 years baad, there will be no range. No one will be talking ki what is the range of this person. People will be speaking ki this guy saved this company $5 million in this first month. Pay whatever you want, just bring him in.
So
So
that person will be getting
initially,
a
yeah.
salary in crores. So this is possible in FP&A at
Easy,
later
yeah,
part.
yeah, easily,
So
easily.
that was what we wanted to motivate our audience that no matter where you start from, but at the end, if you are good here, good in the workings, have a good
Yes,
knowledge,
then there is, yeah,
you can bring value,
sky is the limit.
you can have crores of salaries. So that is possible. Anything else, Pulkit, at the end you want to guide to the freshers from the commerce stream about this role or any role, like what candidates this role is for and what candidates, I mean, they should not enter into this particular profile.
Okay, so first part I would say is like this entire activity, right, where you are trying to understand what people in specific profiles do. I think this is very important because even when I joined uh, my first company, I had no clue कि what
Mhm.
do they do. I knew कि ये job description है, ये profile में ये होता है, but actually you go to the office, open your laptop, what is the thing that you do? Trying to understand that, speaking to your friends, family, colleagues, seniors, whatever, and understanding ki on the day, on ground, what they do is supremely important for any profile ad manner. For people who are really suitable for this role, I would say are people who are really passionate about bringing an impact, who are really quick on their mind, who are logical, who have a really deep sense of, deep diving and figuring out the root cause, and who are good in communicating that, in influencing decisions so that they can actually create a positive impact. It is a role for people like them. Yeah, I guess it is for everyone. If someone wants to go to a very technical side, I would say maybe someone who's passionate about tax or something. This role will have aspects of that, but I don't know if it'll be that much of maybe what they are looking for.
This role is more suitable for those persons who have analytical mindset, who are good at numbers, who have a good understanding of the business, and who are ready to learn
Yeah,
more and more and deep dive and can bring value on the table and they are good at learning. So
yeah.
I think this is what I understood from your key takeaways. And thank you, Pulkit, for giving your time. I wish you have no objection if we publish it on our YouTube channel.
No, no, Yogesh. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you once again for joining in. Bye bye.
Thank you, Yogesh. Bye.